It's my first live stream, and I will give people some time, just short time to come in. Yeah, I just watched something, and I think it was good that I watched this video of some Wagnin about weaponization of therapy language. So let's dive into the topic. Well, we have a lot of controversial things, controversial topics happening in the world right now. Um, Good morning. Yeah, we have a lot of controversial things happening in the world. Um, and it's about freedom of speech. It's about the roles of um, women and men. I see the people coming in. Hello, it's my first live stream. Welcome, everybody. Um, yeah, so we have a lot of controversial topics in the world about the roles of the genders and about virtually everything. What is abuse, what is not abuse. Yeah, just because I just watched a video, of course, of Sam Vaknin, and he said that therapeutic language can be weaponized as well. And yeah, I think it was good that I watched this before starting this live stream. So, one of the traits of a psychopath would be to weaponize everything and leverage everything. So everything can be weaponized, definitely. But I think it can be helpful to make sense of what has happened to you and to re-narrate or to narrate the past for you, to understand certain patterns. And there is spiritual language that can help us to decipher these things, but the therapeutic language, the psychologic language, is just going places, is going in very deep. Yeah, it goes very deep in the matter, and it really can help to grasp what otherwise would not be possible to grasp. And I don't want to over explain what I'm doing. Over explaining is not good, I believe. But we just have to keep in mind that using the therapeutic knowledge can be abused as well, because it can be misleading, it can be accusive. So if you say somebody crosses my boundaries, it is an accusation. It is an accusation, and yeah, and also it can lead to having the position of, just being self-centered, thinking about, oneself only. Yeah. But I believe we have to be critical in everything and know the shadow sides. For me, it makes no sense to stay away from therapeutic language just because it can be weaponized. But it's important to keep in mind it can be both weaponized externally. It can be seen as an external aggression. And it can also lead to a false sense of safety. So we should not believe that we are safe of any further abuse, and now we change. It's another topic that we must find a good balance between accepting us the way we are, so self-acceptance, but also to understand that we can slowly grow and change and let old things go. But it's a delusion, or it's an illusion. Delusion is already therapeutic talk again. Illusion, I think, is a legal term. To It's an illusion to think that we can change 180 degrees. That's not possible. After the age of 25, our character and personality is pretty much finished, and there will not be huge changes in any neurological patterns or character patterns that we have. Um, so self-acceptance is important. Admitting mistakes, admitting what happened, looking at oneself. Why did the things happen, and so on. Yeah, but yeah, we should not have a false sense of safety. We will never be safe of anything, but I think it's important to not avoid life and keep on doing mistakes, but not with a false sense of, it's like in martial art. When you learn martial art, you might have a good week, a good run, and then you feel invulnerable, and you have this mentality of people, yeah, now come at me. But when you dive deeper into the knowledge, then you realize, oh, I really had no idea of the deeper function of this or these techniques. Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. We just talk about a false sense of safety, and that we should not believe that we ever ready or ever finish. This is an exclusive mindset. So we say, now I'm ready. Now everybody can come at me. I'm invulnerable. I have these weapons ready. I have the therapeutic talk. I know everything about I know everything about the narcissist, the borderliner, the psychopath. No. These people can fool the best psychiatrist, the best therapist. They can surely fool you, and you can call yourself an empath, you can call yourself what you want. We never save we never save we never save of that. But yeah, but we can accept ourselves the way we are. We can handle ourselves better. We can stay probably out of trouble if possible, or we can learn to maneuver differently, maybe not repeat the same mistakes. We should do new mistakes maybe. Yeah, and again, one disclaimer. I want to get into the topic, but I think in the live stream I have more time and take it a little bit slow. A disclaimer: I am not a specialist, or how does Samagnin call it? I'm not a I am a self-styled expert. No, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in anything of this psychological field. And I don't try to suggest anybody what to do. Yeah, I'm just sharing my thoughts. That's it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, I have made a small structure, so I want to keep it structured a little bit. And I try to read on what happens here, so on the while going on in the stream. All right. Yeah, we had a topic already. I said it that therapy speak can be weaponized, it can be used as an external aggression, but external aggression is not necessarily bad. I think I told you we have controversial topics going on, freedom of speech, what are gender identities, what is masculine, what is feminine, and we have to understand that aggression is not necessarily bad. A lot of us were too absolutely not aggressive, always agreeable, always trying to find a compromise, always de-escalating situations through giving up on our own position. So it's not bad to weaponize language. I think it's better to find a communicative way. It's better to solve a problem with speech instead of physical abuse. So yeah, there is a lot of controversial topics, and we can't just you know, disengage from everything and stop using therapeutic language, and adapt and adapt and adapt. It's then a constant retreat of everything. And this is what I have done for a very long time in my life, and I'm not willing to retreat anymore too far. You know, I'm standing my positions, but I keep in mind things like weaponization of therapeutic knowledge can be, yeah, cannot be, yeah, it's not fair. I can't diagnose people, and I'm not diagnosing people. I can only say, well, this pattern, you know, I have the knowledge about this pattern, and this pattern fits to the behavior of a person. This does not mean that this person is a clinically diagnosable psychopath. Can be it's just a psychopathic personality style, or or a, or it can be I have misinterpreted the behavior. Now, that being said, let's now get into these topics, okay? The structure that I have made was I wanted to talk first about the differences of the abuse of especially narcissists, borderliners, and psychopaths. These three. And I believe these are falling. Now, let us get it structured. Let us get it structured. These three, narcissist, borderliner, psychopath, fall under the dark triad. The triad is three, but this concept has been expanded to the dark tetrad, which then includes the, I believe, histrionic personality disorder, and maybe I make mistakes. Don't take what I say as state of the art psychologic knowledge. I'm just giving to my best knowledge what I'm saying, okay? Yeah, tetrad. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Yeah, right. We are familiar with verbal abuse. I mean, the psychopath, again, weaponizes everything. Communication with a psychopath means it's pure weaponization against you. Every form, you know, communication is not possible. It's not communication. It's a one-sided weaponization of language. So therefore, we can reactively use therapeutic language as a aggression to defend ourselves. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, so, okay. I'm getting live updates here. Sadism. Okay. Yeah, but I think sadism can be part of all of them. So a borderliner can be sadistic, a narcissist can be sadistic, and a psychopath can also be sadistic. But yeah, we want to get it, we want to shed light on it, and I believe that I cannot perfectly clarify everything, but maybe a little bit. And so the structure, the structure I want to give to this topic is to go from cluster B, and cluster B for sure is antisocial personality disorder, which is the same as psychopathy. Borderline is number 2. Number 3 is narcissism. Number 4 is histrionic. And these 4 are clinical. So this, I call it now the dark tetrad. It's 4. But Machiavellianism can also be counted to it, but it's not clinical. It's not a clinical term. It's not a clinical diagnosis. And therefore, some Wagner suggests to not mess around and just call it the dark pentagram, because these are 5, okay? And all of them can be sadistic, and the cluster B is they are all antisocial, abusive, externally regulating, manipulative, dramatic personality disorders. And all of them can be sadistic. Okay, so this is the cluster B. There is 5 of them. They can, and 4 of them can be clinically diagnosed. They have clinical criteria. But why are these called? We go into the differences of the 3 main targets soon. But why are these 5 called dark pentagram? Why are they called dark personalities? This has nothing to do with clinical diagnosis or terms, because the dark personalities are subclinical. This means, to my best knowledge, we could call this personality styles. So if this person would, if a person that is a dark personality, or you call it, you see it as a dark personality, it must be one of these 5. And yes, it can be sadistic. It can be a part of the mixture. But if they were willing to do a diagnostic process with a licensed psychiatrist, is it psychiatrist? They would not be fully fledged qualifying for one of these categories. All right. So I wanted to, I got a comment of a person that about this topic, and people mixing up a lot of these terms: dark personality, dark triad, tetrad. And so to give it a structure, cluster B, 5 different personality disorders. One of them, the Machiavellianism, is not clinical term. All of them can be seen as dark pentagram, so it's just 5 on cluster B, 5 in the dark pentagram, and the dark pentagram is subclinical. It cannot be diagnosed because for some reason they don't fit the necessary criteria. They would not get the score they need to be qualified as a fully fledged personality disorder. Okay. So therefore we have to speak of personality styles. But for us as people who experience abuse, who are manipulated, who get in touch with dark personalities, it doesn't matter whether they are fully fledged this or that combination of, a narcissist, secondary, psychopath, malignant, whatever somatic. It's not upon us. It's not our qualification, ability to perfectly understand or diagnose or anything this. Richard Grannon said, there's only one question, and that is, do they have a moral core? Yes or no? And if they don't, they are not good for you. So, okay. And also what adds to the confusion in this is that they switch self states. So when you put a narcissist, and when I say narcissist, it can be subclinical, it can be a narcissistic personality style. Um, so when you put a narcissist or a borderliner under stress, when you take away the supply of a narcissist, it can happen that they turn into a psychopath. They switch self-state. Therefore, we can have memories of the same person that fit rather to narcissistic abuse, and then something happens, something changes, and suddenly they behave differently, completely differently. Something changes. Now they're psychopathic. And now we go into the details, what it means. The differences between the narcissist, the borderline, and the psychopath, these are the topics that I have searched out today. So we can look, I recently found out, and this is therapeutic language, that by looking at the object relationships, we can separate the forms of abuse, and we can understand the patterns of behavior better, probably, and make sense of what happened. You know, when we have had experiences that were confusing, we didn't understand why people are so extremely counterintuitive. This therapeutic language can help to understand other people's behavior, but it also can help, you know, it's always a dualistic process. You understand the other person, and then you learn something about yourself as well. Okay. So the narcissist has introject constancy. What does that mean? Okay, first of all, object relationship means the relationship of a human being and a person in psychoanalytic language. A healthy person has introject constancy and object constancy. It means that you have when you know a person very well, you create an introject. This means the person lives in your mind, in your memory, in your imagination, in your heart, in your feelings. The person is there even if the person goes away. The person is called object. But you also realize that this person has an object constancy. The person is still there even if the person is away, and the person has their own reality, their own emotions, their own individuation process. They grow, parts of them die, they let go of things. It's just like you, but just another person. And you have both the introject within you and the object, and you update the introject based on what the of the object. So it's a constant relation process. So this is what I believe is how a healthy person relates to people. The narcissist has only introject constantly. This means the narcissist makes, as Sam Vaknin calls it, a snapshot. Makes an assumption of what this person is and what all the attributes are, and also idealizes it first. And then this picture is frozen inside. It's like a photoshopped picture of this person inside the narcissist. You need to understand narcissism. When we talk about a narcissist, everything happens within the narcissist. They are self-absorbed 100%. This is a key to understand them. Nothing happens outside of them. The world, everything is inside the narcissist. And everybody is an introject an introjected object. It's an object within the narcissist. So the narcissist interacts not with persons around outside. The narcissist interacts with his or her introject. And the person that is in the real life out there is just an empty canvas, a placeholder for the representation that the narcissist has introjected. So the introject is projected on the person, and the narcissist interacts with the introject of himself. It's quite weird and takes some time to think into this, but it helps to understand what they do and why they don't understand that you change, that you have your own ideas, that you know, you know. Yes, yes. So yeah, then by the way, now we go a little bit astray, but we stay on the narcissist. Therefore, the narcissists don't lie and they don't gaslight. I know this sounds provocative, but they do. They don't lie and they don't gaslight because they are in the same boat. Everything is inside the self-absorbed mind, and therefore the narcissist is in the same boat with you at least. They are invested in this shared fantasy, and they believe what they say. They confabulate rather. They believe what they say, and they don't exactly gaslight, because to understand what gaslighting is, we need to know the definition of gaslighting, and the gaslighting would need the ability of functioning reality testing. So the person needs to be able to go into reality and then intentionally manipulate the inside of your mind. Okay, the narcissist can't do this. They are not participating in reality. They are self-absorbed, living in a shared fantasy, delusional, so to speak. Oh man, I'm weaponizing psychological knowledge too much. Language. So, by the way, therefore, also the narcissist can't introspect. They can't go outside of themselves and go into the position of another person. You know, it would mean to be empathetically imagining to be another person and looking back at yourself and see your mistakes. They can't do this. Okay. Therefore, they don't lie and they don't gaslight because they are acting in their world. They are completely invested in this. They believe it. And I think there are similarities to the borderliner, but not to the psychopath. Okay. We wanted to start with the narcissist, and we talked about the introject constancy. So the introject is frozen forever in time. It's there, it does not change, and the narcissist does only interact with the introject, with an object. They first idealized it because they expect a co-idealization. So when the narcissist shows you the love, it is intended, it's an investment to get it back. So the narcissist loves himself via the other person. This is why Sam Wagner calls the book malignant self-love, because it means loving other people to love yourself, touching other people to touch yourself. Yes, we could talk a little bit more about this maybe. Like, what, you know, we could think about, well, if the narcissist only interacts with the introject, why do they even need another person around? And they definitely need this external validation. And this is not so easy to answer. But intuitively now I would say it is also because they don't they can believe, I have this feeling, they can believe it when you believe it. So they confabulate, they idealize, they act out a fantasy of love, of whatever they do, they act it out, and then it must be reflected by another person. And when they feel this emotional content, then they believe it. Then they consume it. Then they live, they come to life. But when this other person is gone, they switch off. They offline. They're not there anymore. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. So I made this experience that I had the feeling when you are inside this dynamic, in this cultish dynamic, when guests come into the house, suddenly everybody lights up. Everybody's online, everybody's energetic. But when the observers go, everybody's offline again. They switch off, unplugged, emotion dropped, object, object dropped. Okay. Yeah, I think this. So this is right. This is the introject constancy. Narcissist has this introject, frozen, finished. Um, but no object constancy, no object at all. So it means there is no reality outside the narcissist, and therefore there's no human being outside the narcissist. There is no human being outside the narcissist. Hard to imagine. Um, okay, and now the borderliner it's the opposite. The borderliner has no introject constancy, but object. What? They have object constancy, right? Let me check it. That's true. um, and this describes the abandonment anxiety of borderliners. So when a person enters the room, and I can't describe the borderliner so good, I believe. Maybe I don't have so much experience with them, but so when the person enters the room, they are hyper fixated on this person because the borderliner is afraid of his inner world, of his mind, of his emotions, and has this need for another person to get rid of all of this, to be distracted of all of this, to merge with the person. It's really, I am not able to 100% paint or picture the difference between between the narcissist and the borderliner. But it's very interesting, this contrast. So we have this, in the narcissist, we have this constant introject, and the narcissist is completely denying the existence of external people, and the borderliner has this extreme fixation on the object, on the real person. They are hyper fixated on the real person, and when the person goes, they have the anxiety that this person is abandoning them forever because their representation inside is not there, or they are afraid of feeling this for reasons in childhood. Childhood trauma is the reason for both, as we know, narcissism and borderline. Yeah, it really, it makes me think. I will have to if I want to dive deeper into this. Yeah. Um, so so again, let's focus. The borderliner has the object constancy, and they are hyperfixated on people, um, and they want to merge with them. And when they go, they have this abandonment anxiety and tend to, yeah, have emotional outbursts, dramatic outbursts that then are acted out, and this leads to getting the attention they need. Something like that. Yeah. So I think I don't speak a lot more about borderline right now, right? Yeah, maybe I go back to this but yeah, not now. And yeah, the third one, the antisocial personality disorder, the psychopath, has no object constancy and no introject constancy. And that means they are not invested at all in any relationship to human beings. So they could not care less. They are indifferent about the relationships. To go back, narcissists and borderliners have a shared fantasy that encapsulates the relationships to object or introject. And this shared fantasy is projected. It is an extension to the grandiose self, to the fragile self. It's a shared fantasy, and they cannot leave this fantasy. Therefore, they both have impaired reality testing and are acting in fantastic spaces in a shared fantasy. And yeah, there's this theory of a concept of Samvagnin about fantastic spaces, and these fantastic spaces are filled with symbols, and these symbols are manipulated. And this fits very well to explain narcissist and borderline abuse. And again, the narcissist and the borderliner are in the same boat. They do and act out, not even to intentionally manipulate, perhaps, but because for them, they believe this. Okay, so this is the delusional side, the impaired reality testing. They are in the same boat. Um, yeah, but the psychopath is different. The psychopath is different. The psychopath is not having a shared fantasy with object relations or introject. You know, they have no constancy in this, so not invested in this. There is no shared fantasy. But what is really crazy and scary is that the psychopath can create a fantasy custom tailored for a person. So what person? What does the psychopath interact with? The psychopath interacts with instruments and obstacles. So if the psychopath is interacting with you, you qualify as an instrument or an obstacle or both. And to interact with you, they can, or to manipulate you, they can create the perfect fantasy of you. So they read or somehow find out what is the fantasy that has that gives them the outcome they want to manipulate you. So they offer a fantastic space for the target that is perfectly custom made, but the psychopath can enter the fantasy and exit it. But the target cannot exit the fantasy. So it's not a shared fantasy of the psychopath. Um, but the psychopath has another shared fantasy. He has one. She has one. And that is with a goal. The psychopath is goal oriented. The narcissist is not goal oriented. The narcissist is after supply. There are 4 forms of supply. Safety, SEX, I heard this is the way we say this online, on YouTube. Service and supply. So it's always about supply. The psychopath is after goals, strategic long-term goals, and the psychopath has a shared fantasy with these goals. Excuse me. So they are in love with their goal. The goal gives them a thrill, a reward. They are in a shared fantasy with their goals. And hyper laser focused on this goal. And to reach the goal, they need instruments, and there are obstacles in the way. And this is the relationships to human beings they have. Yeah, that's really crazy. So the psychopath has functioning reality testing. In my comments there was some people mixing up the dark personalities, personality styles, fully fledged diagnosed cluster B personality disorders, and so on. I think we had in the first part of the stream already clarified a little bit of that, but there was also coming up about the psychopath unimpaired reality testing. So narcissists and borderliners have impaired reality testing. They are delusional because they can only act in a shared fantasy, and they are invested in this to abuse and weaponize therapeutic language. They are cathected into this. The Greek word cathexis means emotional investment, energy investment, maybe libidal investment, maybe death drive, destrudo investment in this. Okay, they're in the same boat. But a psychopath has unimpaired reality testing, which means they can discern reality better. They are not caught up in a delusional fantasy. They can enter the fantasy, but they can also go outside of the fantasy and make decisions outside of that. I can't explain it better at the moment. So now we have, I think we now have already talked about the narcissist, the borderline, and the psychopath. Now what could the, now this helps to understand the object relations they have. They introject, the object, or no constancy at all. It helps to understand how people act and in which self state they are, because again, they can switch self states as well. Yes, the death drive is interesting. Yes, it is. I also have it as one of the topics here. But just briefly, I want to stick for a little bit longer with the first topic, the 3 different personality styles that we described. So the abuse is definitely different, and I would describe the psychopathic personality style as very surgical and cold, and especially a high-functioning psychopath can really be very, not, you don't feel any hostility. It's not so, it's not so unsettling, it's not so penetrative because it's so surgical. Okay? And again, the best definition I can give for gaslighting, that to my best knowledge, is a manipulation of your inner mind, of your inner world, not through acting out as the narcissist or the borderliner would do, but the psychopath can do this through a very subtle communication, weaponization of speech. This is gaslighting. It's intentionally making you abandon your positions, undermining your confidence, making you guess yourself. It's gaslighting. Yeah. Okay. So a psychopath, a high functioning psychopath can have very high impulse control. So they don't appear to be dysregulated or aggressive. They show no violence. It's and therefore it's very surgical and hard to spot. But in the background, there can be coercive control mechanisms running, and yeah, you are just an instrument or an obstacle. Yeah, and yeah, so the abuse is very different. Oh, it's different, definitely, because I feel when you enter the shared fantasy of a borderliner or a narcissist, it feels more unsettling, pervasive, the term all pervasive. Yeah, it's like, it's unsettling, and you have almost a physical reaction to it. There is the uncanny valley effect that describes an intuitive feeling that something is off, but we can't really put a finger on what is off. Something here is not right. It's almost like an artificial human being. Not almost, it is. you know, um, yeah, and there are differences. It's like your body reacts to being exposed to a shared fantasy space where a delusional person that can be very charismatic is acting out their fantasy and manipulating you via acting out their delusional fantasy. Um, and this is a very, this is crossing boundaries. This is disregarding any boundaries. This can be perceived as ambient violence, and it's different to the surgical precision of the psychopathic abuse. Yeah. Yes, and I mean, so the yeah, we can separate the forms of abuse in a way that the borderliner and the narcissist manipulate the exterior. Even though the narcissist lives self-absorbed in his fantasy, still they are acting in reality. Even though the narcissist only interacts with the introject, he projects this introject on the object, on you, and therefore abuses you. So the narcissist and the borderliner manipulate the space around them. Therefore, they manipulate the exterior and they act delusional upon crazy self concepts, grandiose but fragile self. They perceive healthy responses as attacks and so on. Therefore, it's a physical abuse, even though it does not necessarily have to be a real physical assault. While the psychopath interacts of course, all the three can become physical and angry and hateful and attack you real physical, or have rage outbursts. Again, Narcissist and borderliner manipulate the exterior in a delusional acting out way, doing crazy things. And a psychopath is manipulating the inside of you so that the psychopath interacts with your mind. The borderliner, the narcissist, interacts with the world around you. Volume is low. Maybe it's on your end. Yeah, I don't know. Up to now, nobody has complained about it. Or we're already 50 minutes in. I hope everybody can understand me. It's my first. Please give me feedback. It's my first stream. Yeah, it's true. They have internal. They basically, all of them act based on self-hate, actually self-hatred, but it's projected on others. So again, the narcissist and the borderliner does not realize or admit to themselves that they self-hate. They do projective identification. So they see the flaw and the attack or whatever, the problem in you, and therefore they hate other people. They project it. Okay. Yeah, and this is death drive. Okay, so let's transition to the death drive. So the self-hate. Yeah, I don't, we can also soon end this stream, I think. But yeah, the death drive is very interesting. I just recently stumbled over the death drive and it explains so much for me. It was discovered or described by Sabina Spielrein 100 years ago, and her concept about this was absorbed by Sigmund Freud and Carl Gustav Jung, and therefore she did not get the recognition she deserves for it. Yes. Yeah, right. The death drive. I described the death drive before knowing anything about borderline narcissism, psychopathy, or death drive. I said it's the spirit of death when I when I experienced this. And these people who are driven by it, and I believe we can link it to all of the cluster Bs, to all the dark pentagram personalities. When they acting in these fantastic spaces, acting out, some of them compete in self-trashing behavior. So they suggest, introject, entrain self-trashing behavior. Like, it's almost like suggesting depression, suggesting suicidal thoughts by going ahead as bad example and competing in victimhood. So it's so twisted. And yeah, where is it coming from? Why? They dismember your mind, heart, and spirit. It's creepy, says Lara Parks. Substance addiction, overindulging, impulsive, reckless, unpredictable, unstable, irrational, immature outbursts, acting out tantrums, pretend to be normal, sensible, logical, mature in public. Yeah, they also glorify what they do later. So whatever they do, it's heroic. It's an act of world-saving measures and so on. So death drive. There is a controversial is our topic today. controversial discussion about death drive. Is it separated from life drive? Is it a dualistic nature? In my opinion, the feminine and the masculine archetypes can be seen as dualistic, but they are not necessarily bound to genders. So a man can embody feminine qualities and a woman can embody masculine qualities. There's no problem with that. But I believe when we talk about the death drive and libido, which is the life drive, I believe this is more of a source, underlying source of everything, and is more unified. So it is the same thing, I believe, but this is controversial. And I believe that in the case of cluster B personality disorder, there is an inflation of death drive. It's like a shadow side of the life drive that is controlling them. So it's not that you integrate this shadow and you are aware of the ability of, you are aware of the possibility for a healthy aggression, you're aware of it, you work on it, you go through this on a daily basis, therefore it's not controlling you. But it's dammed up, it's repressed. We know, by the way, that narcissism is, no, we don't know, but we assume narcissism is a compensatory mechanism for shame, and psychopathy is a compensatory mechanism for anxiety. Therefore, in some forms of narcissism, shame is completely repressed subconsciously. And in psychopathy, anxiety can be repressed subconsciously. In other forms, it's not repressed, but still dominant and controlling in some way, projected. And therefore, it's dammed up. It is dammed up. It is not conscious. It can't be integrated. Therefore, it's dammed up energy. The death drive is damming up anxiety, shame is dammed up. Therefore, a huge energy is there taking over. It's the shadow taking over the person. Yeah, and of course, we could, but I think it would be now too much when we go into the childhood trauma and the bad object introjects and stuff like that, because this is all is I think this is the point, the entry point where where the life drive coming into the human being is already on the source. This is the source of force of life, is the life drive, but it's on the root already poisoned through bad object, through grandiose self that sees everything, through a vulnerable, fragile ego. So let's not dive into that too deep now. But it's a dammed up, destructive, aggressive energy. And as a shadow side of the life drive, it can be healthy. It can be a healthy aggression. It has to be acknowledged. We have to look in the eyes of that. We have to daily work through these tendencies, dark sides, shadow. Men are made to face the dangers of life. We are here to face the saber-toothed tigers, to go out there, bring home some prey. Everybody has his shadow sides, and yeah, we need these life. It's a life drive. It's a risk taking. We need to take a risk, be aggressive to survive. So this is the healthy side of it. But when we suppress this and it starts to control us, this is not good, right? Now the chat is going wild and crazy, and we're mixing up all the things. Let's go. We have, yeah, they hypnotize us and they trigger. Oh no, the language is being weaponized, and they trigger our own trauma surface. Yes, yes, yes. Witchcraft spelled. Yeah. By the way, one way out of this trap of weaponizing therapeutic language would be to translate this into spiritual language, because we can also call it a spirit witchcraft, a spell. It's the same. It's just the same. We can say this person is obsessed, is possessed by the spirit of a dead mother. That's a mixture of therapeutic language, psychological language, bad object, dead mother, and spiritual, language. And the death drive is already almost spiritual language. I believe anyway that spirituality is the precursor of psychology. Carl Gustav Jung made this link perfect. He was looking at mysticism, at the world of symbols and mythology to understand his patients, the world of pictures, of emotions, of archetypes, of symbols. Yeah, he made that link. Okay, I'm happy now. We have 1 hour stream. I think that's enough. It's also, yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting. I think we spoke about very many things. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Are there maybe maybe are there some important questions left? Yeah, they are externally regulating. The death drive is taking them over. The shadow takes over. They are controlled by the shadow because it's repressed, because they are so grandiose, because they are so heroic and they don't do the inner work. Therefore, the shadow controls them. This is then narrated as being heroic. And in reality, it's regulating externally. It means to abuse other people. Multiple personalities. Yes, when you switch self states, when you have no moral core, when you have no identity core, it's easy to change faces. And it's impossible to individuate. Individuation means to admit who you are, to accept you the way you are, with all mistakes, with all your shape, with what you really are, and understand that parts of you die and parts of you grow. You're not perfect, you're not grandiose. Yeah, the demonic presence is even used by psychological specialists, experts, real experts, even can't deny the demonic nature of the dark personalities. I mean, it's called dark personalities, dark triad, tetrad, pentagram. Yeah, the demonic, they have a demonic spirit, the uncanny valley effect. They are uncanny personalities. They have delusional smiles, sadistic smiles. They smile in your face sadistically when you are at your lowest. They're insane, delusional, like clowns, like a it when you look in these eyes, phew, it's gazing into the abyss. Yes. That's a very nice last word. Bipolar comorbidity is a fascinating mode of the narcissist. Evil clowns. hey, the sadism is this is real evil. To have joy for hurting others. Yeah, this is, we also did not just talk about a very elemental part of narcissism, the devaluation phase, right? Which means, yeah, devaluation is also an important part of the narcissistic cycle, the devaluation of the introject. Okay, very happy for this stream. Very happy. Thank you, everybody. Maybe I could do a stream every 2 weeks. We will see. And I will keep you up to date how I will use language in the future. I will share this video of Sam Vaknin where he talks about therapeutic language as a weaponized form of aggression. So, yes, welcome. My name is Julian. That is true. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure. See you on the next video. How do I switch this off? Yes, I want to end the stream. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks very much.